Welcome back, fantasy managers, to the Fantasy Football Backers video. This is Devo1099. I will be flying solo today. Thanks again. If you caught Game Week 19, we had Sarah Meck and Big O1 join us, which I think was a really good setup. We thank those guys for coming on and talking about the DFF industry as a whole, as well as those games. We're tightly compacted here in the festive period, and want to get this video rolling for you in case you're partying a little too hard on New Year's and don't have time to do proper research. We'll at least help you, point you in the right direction. The Boxing Day and the 28th were both pretty successful for me. I had a couple of nice days on Draftkings, so hopefully we can keep that going with Game Week 20 coming up. So now we're exactly halfway through the season. And we've got Arsenal and Leicester sitting on top of the table, just as everybody expected. Wait, Leicester is on top of the table. Okay. They did get a draw at home against Manchester City. But we're going to see their schedule get significantly tougher in the second half. Obviously, it's easy to say Leicester is going to fade. How far they're going to fade is the question. And having to face many of the teams in last year's top six away in the second half of the season is going to be difficult. They're also a little bit thinner than most of the teams up top. If Mahrez or Vardy were to get hurt, or if they were to be lured into being sold in January, which I'd be very surprised if either of those two were sold. They get discussed, I think, partially because that gets clicks and eyeballs when people talk about a player that's one of the top 5 scorers in the Premier League this year to be sold to Manchester United or Chelsea or somebody like that. I'd be very, very surprised if that happened. I think Leicester is happy to ride this out and see if they can even finish top 6, maybe finish top 4. They're certainly close to 50-50 to finish top 4. Liverpool or United would have to pull it together, and they're both 9 points back. I don't see Palace catching them. Could be Arsenal, City, Tottenham making up the top 3 in some capacity, and then Leicester sliding in 4th for the last Champions League spot, which would be pretty crazy. I don't think they have the depth to survive Champions League play, but I didn't think they would be top of the table at the halfway point either. So it's exciting to watch. A team that was headed for relegation at the beginning of 2015. And the run they went on with Nigel Pearson to close out 2015 to stay up, pretty comfortably stay up. They just started winning games. That's what you have to do, and they haven't stopped. And Vardy and Mahrez are a real treat to watch. So Palace is another surprise. They're sitting 5th in the table. They still don't have a striker. Maybe they buy one in January. I don't know. The whole Bamford saga is starting to play out. Appears that he'll be headed back to Chelsea and sent back out on loan somewhere, maybe that he might play. None of it makes sense, because they really could have used someone, and I can't imagine that they know that he was going to fail. He had a pretty good record at championships, so. The Bamford situation is very strange, especially considering Palace is having a great season, and that's their biggest hole is getting goals from strikers, and they had a young potential talent and just haven't used him. So something's going on there. Don't know what it is, but imagine that he has worn out his welcome. Not sure if that's official yet, but I'm pretty sure that is on its way to being done. So, and then. 3 other teams that are a little deeper in the table, joint 8th right now, West Ham, Watford, and Stoke. None of those teams look like they have potential to really go up from there. But you never know. They're only a couple points out of Europa spots right now. So certainly something to play for in the second half. West Ham spent a lot of money and should get Payet back. So they could resurface back up the table. Enough of that. I'm going to go into the games now. The West Ham Liverpool game is the early game on Saturday. It's at noon, and I mean, there's rumors that Payet could make the bench for this, which would be a big boon for West Ham. They've been playing fairly solidly lately, especially defensively, which is usually where I find fault with West Ham. They've been pretty secure at the back. Now they catch Liverpool, who, as we know, struggles to score. You know, Benteke caught that one yesterday, and then had a wide open break that he couldn't finish. But not a ton of other chances for Liverpool, and that's against Sunderland. So away to West Ham, tough matchup. Perfectly fine with this game not being included in most slates, as it just doesn't really peg to be a very open match at all, the way West Ham is playing, and with Liverpool's concerns finishing. So we'll go right to the the 3 p.m. slate, and then closing out with Watford City is the late game on Saturday. We will skip the Sunday matches. There are two of them: Palace Chelsea and Everton Tottenham. Both interesting matches, I think, but 2-game slates are typically not. There's just too much overlap, and not a great place to invest if you are a profitable player, because there's just not going to be much edge. And if you miss a player and somebody takes them, they may have you boxed out on 9 of the 11 guys, and it makes it really difficult to come back. I still play it, but just fair warning. So Arsenal Newcastle. At the Emirates, Arsenal rebounded after getting slaughtered on Boxing Day by Southampton 4-0. They came back and they beat Bournemouth, and now they get Newcastle. So this is shaping up to be a good way to start the second half of the season for Arsenal. Probably one of the 3 or 4 easiest matches that you can have in the Premier League is Newcastle at home. Newcastle's looked okay. They're lacking. They're lacking the right playmakers. They have some holes at the back, and they're not going to be a team that is going to be contending for anything anytime soon. More importantly is whether they can stay up. But Arsenal's not going to do them any favors. I'm not sure if Wenger will rotate here. This is this is going to be a game where he'll have that possibility. We'll have the lineup, so we don't have to speculate too much. But you have to think that a guy like Oxlade-Chamberlain should get some good pitch time. I don't know if Walcott or Giroud are itching to get a rest. Same with Ozil. I mean, Ozil's been carrying this team all season. So, you'd think that maybe he gets a day off, but he also makes the team go, and Wenger doesn't want to drop any points. So I would imagine that they're not going to do anything too drastic. And we'll see a fairly similar team to the last team that played Bournemouth. So in this match, I mean, I think you're on Mondogoal, you're looking at potentially 4 different Arsenal players. They're just so far ahead of some of the other options on this slate. And like I said, it's just one of the easier fixtures that a top team can draw. So I'm looking at Ozil still. He's added some scoring punch to his game. He's crushing records for assists in the Premier League. He's only 4 off the pace, I believe, after at the half. So good chance that he can come up with that. Giroud or Walcott are good plays depending on where they play. Walcott on the wing has not been anywhere nearly as effective, and Giroud has established himself up top. So I think Giroud is probably the guy you want there. Then either Ramsey or Oxlade-Chamberlain if Chamberlain plays on the right over Campbell. That's an option. Bellerine's been coming on a little bit from defense. He's still his price is still a bit inflated, I think, from last season. He just hasn't been quite as effective. Considerably less crosses. He's still a very pacey player on the right, on the right, and he's getting more involved. I don't think I'm ready to pay his price at this point. And then Czech's been great. He's not going to get a lot of work against Newcastle, so you're probably not going to get saves, but the clean sheet is certainly within reach. So kind of depend on the pricing, whether he's the option that you're going to want to go with or not. From the Newcastle side, I don't think we're really touching anything. If you play on Draftkings, you might look at Ayoze Perez because he's taking their corners and a few set pieces. And Sissoko, I'll mention just because I forgot to mention him last week. I really like Sissoko. He's been fairly focused, I think, in the last few weeks, which is really the challenge with him. I would never take him against Arsenal. I don't think it's a good match for him, even though I do think that at one point Arsenal was pursuing him pretty strongly. But one to keep an eye on. I think if he stays focused and he's really a difficult player to pin down. But he's been sending in some crosses and he's been pretty active. So come a more favorable fixture, I do like Sissoko to be a differential. Moving on to King Power, Leicester hosting Bournemouth. Leicester certainly has to be happy with a 0-0 draw. They had their chances, so did City. But not allowing City to catch them is pretty important. So getting a point out of that match and then moving on to Bournemouth, this will be the type of match where they need to demonstrate that they can take care of a team that is towards the bottom of the table, and they're at home, and this is a match they should win. So Mahrez and Vardy are carrying very inflated price tags at this point. Difficult to fit either of them in, but this is a pretty decent match. Bournemouth has been playing all right defensively. Bournemouth is more of a possession-oriented team, whereas Leicester is more happy to give away possession. I would imagine Leicester is going to sort of trick them into pressing and then hit them on the counterattack, and I can't imagine Bournemouth has the pace or the quality to slow down Vardy and Mahrez. So I do like Leicester in this match. Albrighton is an option, and Fuchs has been taking more of the set pieces again. He's sort of been in and out of that duty, but he's been on corner duty and taking a couple set pieces. He had a couple effective efforts from deep, and I would imagine he stays on those. So Fuchs makes for a nice play defensively, and the Leicester defense has been better as well. So there's a clean sheet potential on top of his attacking prowess. For Bournemouth, I like Stanislas, and I do like Richie. I don't like Richie at his price on Mondogoal. I don't mind him on Draftkings. Adam Smith has been pretty effective. Daniels as well. I don't see them getting clean sheets, so that takes a lot of their scoring potential away in Mondogoal, but they should have possession. And Leicester, while better defensively, is still not a complete wall back there. Stanislas is probably the most interesting player if he's fit, just because he was really coming on before picking up a hamstring injury, and his price is still in a place where we can take advantage of. All right, so let's go to Old Trafford. Manchester United in a match that they should dominate. We've seen this before, and they've struggled. Louis van Gaal is convinced that his players are playing hard for him and want to keep him there. I think he's probably delusional. Most of his press conferences suggest that he's delusional or has been drinking too much wine. I can't imagine that the United players are happy with him at this point, but maybe, they're professionals and they want to make sure that they don't, hurt their season any further by allowing this drama to stop them from winning matches that they should. And Swansea at Old Trafford is a match they should win. Swansea has not been looking very effective in attack. So the question for us for United is, do we actually trust them? Do we trust their attackers? Can we afford De Gea? I don't think so. Blind is still listed as a midfielder, which takes away a lot of his, he takes away the clean sheet potential for Mondogoal, which hurts a bit. Clean sheets are less relevant on Draftkings, and he also takes most of the corners right now. So he's certainly viable on Draftkings. I think Blind is going to be a popular play. Ashley Young, gets crosses, but I don't really want to pay for Rooney. I tried to ride the narrative last week and convince Sarah Meck to play him, and Rooney came up well short of an effective game. Mata, Martial, I can't imagine Memphis is going to start, and even if he does, he's certainly not in Van Gaal's good graces right now. So we're not going to see what Memphis has to offer potentially all this season, and it may be that he's it's hard to say. He might be an Eredivisie type player that he can score a bunch of goals there, and when he's not being defended, he can be a solid player. But all he's doing right now is shooting from outside the box and a lot of inefficient strikes that just haven't really worked out. No surprise there. So, I think I'd like Mata here. I would be fine with Martial if the price is right, which I think it still is on Mondogoal. De Gea is probably a little expensive on Mondogoal. He's very reasonable on DraftKings. A little bit of a discount from Czech if that's what you're looking for, or if you just want to differentiate there. And then Blind, I think is certainly in play. From the Swansea side, United is a possession-oriented team and makes it difficult to really pile up fantasy points. You can score on them, or you've been able to. I don't know if Swansea will in this match. I don't think they have a whole lot going for them. Sigurdsson, who we mentioned last week, again, has really been coming on, literally coming on last match because he didn't start, which made it so that none of us played him. But in his 30 minutes, I think he may have gotten up 4 shots, 3 on target, something like that. Taking crosses and corners. He's very active. So I don't see using him against United, but hopefully he doesn't blow up too much, but shows a little potential, and then we can use him in a more favorable fixture coming up. Next is from Vickers Road. We've got Norwich hosting Southampton. Southampton is a difficult team to pin down. They can beat Arsenal 4-0, and then they can go and lose their next match. It's tough, and they had a 1-0 lead in that match, and then allowed West Ham to come back. Not the most effective display from Southampton, kind of negating their win against Arsenal in the first place. But they're going to be the same type of team. They're gonna run into issues with finishing, and without Pella, who is not expected back this match. Long's been decent. I think Long is certainly a player to take a very, very long look at. Sorry for the the play on words there, totally unintentional. Take a detailed look at Shane Long. He's looked good, and he's the type of player who can get assists in addition to scoring. I'd really like Mane in this match. I feel like Norwich is the type of team that he can break down very easily, and he's kind of due for a big breakout match. He hasn't been quite as exciting as he typically is. Tadic and then Stephen Davis is really been given the keys to the Southampton attack much more than we would expect. You know, he was more of a deep line playmaker last season, and it has moved into sort of a 10 role for Southampton. You know, taking some set pieces, corners, and you know, his price hasn't caught up to the chances he's creating. You know, partially they need to be finished. But I think Stephen Davis is certainly a strong play here. And then I don't think we're going to get Cedric back yet, which means Cuco Martina is going to probably deputize for him. And then we've got Bertrand's starting. The numbers suggest that Bertrand is starting to become the player he was last season again. It's taken a long time since his injury to get back in form here, but I do think that he's a lot closer to that, and I think that his price is somewhere where we can take advantage of it. So I'm looking at primarily Southampton players here. I just think Norwich is you know, defensively they're still a bit of a mess. The two options, you know, on Norwich on a week-to-week basis are typically Redmond and Brady. Mbokani came in and scored last week. I believe he started and got a late goal. He's not bad, but I think Southampton actually, you know, is a really tough matchup for him with Font and Van Dijk back there. So I'm not going anywhere near him. Probably wouldn't play Redmond or Brady, given the other options on this slate. But I'm fine with I'm fine with them if you're really pushing for it. But generally, I'm looking at Southampton here. So let's move on to the huge relegation match: Sunderland against Villa. Sunderland at home. You know, a bit of a tough loss against Liverpool yesterday. You know, still not really showing a whole lot. But you know, Big Sam's got them playing considerably better than they had been. They, you know, tougher to see that when they, you know, ran into a couple of the you know, top four type teams and got beat. But then, you know, hanging with Liverpool, I think is a sign that, you know, they're at least a little more organized and not just, you know, gaping hole at the back. So they should be able to handle Villa in this match. One big plus is Jordan Ayew has yellow card accumulation and will not be playing, so do not use Ayew against Sunderland. Adam Johnson's back. He was largely ineffective yesterday, but again, that's Liverpool and not Villa, so that's to be expected. Van Aanholt's been very involved, and Villa has been pretty solid. Vito Manone looked great. You know, Pantilimon and Manone are probably both fairly decent plays. I mean, Manone lost his job last year when Southampton scored 8 on him, and he never was able to get it back because Pantilimon played really well. Things have sort of flipped now, and Manone looked great against Liverpool. Had a couple great saves. Barini has looked pretty good as well. You know, wasn't able to score against his former team Liverpool, but he was involved in had a couple shots. You know, Defoe was back and probably is a really good play in this match. You know, Defoe tends to score against teams that are inferior, and Villa is inferior. There aren't many of them. But Villa is certainly inferior to Sunderland right now. On the Villa side, like I said, Ayew's out, so Justed is a potential play as a striker. Verito, as we've mentioned several times is definitely in their most active player. Hutton also defensively and Bakuna are both options. You have to figure this match is probably going to be pretty defensive. Neither team wants to lose this match. I think it's more important for Sunderland to go for the win, which is why I'd be more inclined to go after their attackers. But this could be 2-2, could be 0-0. It's hard to peg these. If Villa were to score first, you're going to see Sunderland all out attack, and Villa's not going to have the ability to really park the bus. They just don't have the quality to do that. So I think that considering their prices, I think they'll probably have some Sunderland and Villa players. Like I said, Defoe is a really strong striker option. It's not going to be particularly expensive. I like Verito. I like Hutton. I like Van Aanholt. Those are probably the four guys that I would be looking at. Maybe Manon as well, depending on his price. So two more matches, one more 3 p.m. and then the later match. West Brom hosting Stoke. Stoke's been playing much better lately. West Brom is, just being West Brom, hanging out, trying to stay up. They're still not going to have Rondon, and they're still not going to have McLean due to their straight red card. So we're going to see Brunt and Sessegnon and Dawson as the top options for West Brom. If you played them last week, they were really, really strong. Sessegnon taking some corner kicks, kind of playing a false nine. And Brunt is on a lot of set pieces. So he's always, being on set pieces for West Brom is more advantageous than being on set pieces for most teams, because that's West Brom's bread and butter. That's how they manage to score a lot of their goals. So Stoke, Bojan, I believe, came off injured. I am not positive, but their attackers are starting to look like what we thought they could be. Bojan. Arnautovic has been very strong. Took the penalty last week, or I guess a couple days ago, and Shaqiri. I'm not convinced that his second goal was exactly what he was looking to do, but my goodness, that was beautiful. Getting his first 2 goals in the Premier League in the same match was a long time coming. We've been Shaqiri apologists for quite a while. And it's good to see him start to play better. He had those 2 assists to Arnautovic in the City match a few weeks ago, and then gets 2 goals, a couple days ago. So Shaqiri's starting to turn the corner. His price will probably start catching up fairly quickly to account for that, but he's a good player. I don't know if West Brom is a great matchup for him. He'll be able to send in crosses, but I think he benefits more from open play, and West Brom is decidedly not going to be an open match. So I'm not sure if we want to go with Shaqiri or Bojan or Arnautovic in this match. Despite liking them, it's just not a great setup for them going to the Hawthorns. So I'm fine with it if you like Stoke and you think that they're riding a good hot streak here and we'll keep it rolling. If you're working out of the lineups, there aren't a ton of other options that are a whole lot better. But I think West Brom is actually even just as interesting here if you can find the right pieces of their attack. Brunt, Sessegnon, and then even Dawson out of the back has been exceptional. So an interesting match for sure. It could be very quiet though, so tread carefully there. And then last we've got Watford hosting City. A match that you would have expected City to easily take. Even a month ago, before Watford really buckled down defensively, and they just have kept Igalo and Dini in form, and that's a really nice recipe for a promoted team, is to have a strong defense and then have strikers that can score at will. So, I don't think Kompany's going to be back for this one. That's become a theme for Manchester City. Said they just don't keep clean sheets when he's not around, and this is an away match and a difficult one, and Watford's going to be pretty amped up to face them. So I think it's going to be a difficult match. I do like City here overall. Have to imagine that De Bruyne is a little bit tired. Aguero looked largely ineffective against Leicester. Silva has not done a whole lot since he's been back. And then you've got Kolarov and Sanya, who will probably be asked to send him some crosses from the flanks and try to break down the Watford defense. So surprisingly should be a big match to watch. But I guess there's enough risk of rotation for Manchester City with their third game in 6 or 7 days. So without getting lineups, it makes it a little tough to pay some of the prices that they have at the risk that they're not in there. I really have no idea. I don't know if Bonnie will get the call over Aguero and they'll rest Aguero again. This is a pretty big match. So you'd think that they would probably play their first team, and that would be my inclination. But it's not an easy enough match, and not having the lineups to me would probably be enough to give me pause if I have other players that I think can do quite just as well. If I'm choosing between De Bruyne and Mane, for instance, I really like Mane's matchup. If Mane's in the starting lineup, and I know he's in the starting lineup, I think facing Norwich is a lot easier match than facing Watford right now. And I think you probably get a little price discount for him. Certainly doesn't have the same floor, and that's a risk, but that's a risk that I think the risk of Mane blanking versus the risk of De Bruyne not playing is one I would probably side with Mane. Or you just play for Ozil instead of De Bruyne. Even Juan Mata. Maybe not Juan Mata. But I'm trying to figure out how to get someone in the United attack that I trust, and I guess so is Van Hal. So that's going to do it for Game Week 20. Hopefully this gets you ready. You're not too hungover following New Year's Eve, and you're ready to start the second half with some profit here. So that's Fantasy Football Backers video, Game Week 20. Thanks for watching. We'll see you out there.